Hello,
Or,
hello. Oh. Started? We good?
yeah, the recording started.
Okay. Hello, 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 everyone, and good evening. Welcome to another Toonkind at 12 FPS. This one is called Red in the Soul. My name is Heartless, and I will be playing someone new, someone who hasn't exactly graced the screen before, at least not in person. I will be playing Zeyah North, and joining me today here is well, a new friend.
Yeah, it's Kraken being pulled into the Eclipse Cathedral bullshit.
you,
Hey,
Craigery knows Hugh. Craigery is already
yeah,
involved.
that's a degree of separation. That is a degree of separation. There is no degree of separation with Henrick, who I will be playing today.
Especially not considering, well, information gets around, and it can get around fast or slowly, and Axiom the Fox knows too much. So, gotta scroll back up. Before Henrick had made his way to Toontown to a final meeting with a very certain fortune teller, he had been touring the Tezu countryside, because we don't have enough stuff in Tezu. There, he had been approached by a very well-dressed tanuki in a mauve suit. The tanuki smiled as they passed an invitation to the man, their red eyes glowing even in the light of day. My boss would very much enjoy a conversation with you, Henrick Danthew. He has heard of your work, and if you're willing to come meet with him and speak of it, he'll share some of his own research notes. Considering the danger of the journey, I've been instructed to offer you an escort down into the uncanny valley to the place within the invitation. May I know your response?
And because Henrick is a wizard and therefore filled with terminal curiosity slash stupidity, the response is there's a quick consideration, and then Henrick says yes. And also yes to the escort. But they will need one moment.
Of course.
There is a caravan that Henrik is traveling with, and they go inside out of sight for a minute or two, but then come back out and gesture that they're ready. Would this escort like to roll a perception?
Ah, yes, definitely. Let's see. Lock Longshot, what is your perception? Ah, yes, it's a +4. That's not too bad. Ah, yes, 7. 7. That was a 3
Seven.
+4.
I'm trying to figure out what about this is going to be more obvious, because you're not getting much. You're getting one thing. What would be
Yes.
more obvious?
My terrible rolls.
Absolutely astounding. Henrik seems a little different, but the most obvious thing would just be the splash of color. Being a black and white grayscale toon, there had been no color on them just a minute before, but now their eyes are red. Not unlike long shots.
Hmm. Shit, what does Longshot know about human-looking toons? Longshot's a tanuki.
Seems fine. Seems all right.
Seems par for the course.
Toon's whack man.
Longshot gives a kind of half bow before turning and starting away towards. I don't know what the entrance looks like, but it's certainly an entrance. And the
Yep.
Tanuki leads him down into the earth. Down a ramp for 30 minutes. Why not? They walk down into the earth on a ramp to a strangely placed train station underground, which does not have any train tracks by it, but it's clearly a train station.
Interesting.
And Longshot holds up his arm and pulls back the mob sleeve to reveal 3 or 4 watches. It looks
Me
at them
suddenly
for a
smacked with
moment.
the fact that, story probably has time zones.
You need to put the D20 first.
Yeah. Continue on. Don't worry about this roll. Don't worry about it. Hmm.
Interesting.
All right. So, train station. Henrick's been. I don't know if Longshot's been inclined to conversation, but Henrik certainly isn't much of one. They've just been following along, observing, taking
um,
note of where they've been going.
mhm. Longshot actually has been very quiet. His eyes constantly a red glowing sheen. He
Hmm.
looks up towards a practically a patch of darkness off in the distance and goes, I should be here in a minute. Ugh.
All right. Uh, if this seems to be the meeting place, could Henrik roll Arcana? Just
Yes.
that little dark patch.
Yes, roll Arcana. um,
13, not great.
no, and unfortunately, um, you are in the Uncanny Valley. You know you're in the Uncanny Valley because that's where this Tanuki said he would be taking you. And whatever that dark patch is as you're looking at it and it examining it like glitches and shifts, and it's kind of hard to tell what the heck it is. But as the Tanuki said, Um, after about a minute has passed, the dark patch widened like the mouth of a tunnel, and coming through was a train with the tracks seeming to appear out of nowhere before it. Ah, you're late, Longshot said in exasperation to the train.
Take it
Oh.
they're not in the way and the train's just coming in no problem.
No, there. As long as you stayed on the wood and did not go up close to the big, really glitchy hole in the wall.
I would like to think Henrik is smart enough to, do exactly that and stay put.
um,
We'll say that. They're take this and they're part of why that role was probably so low is just they're just keeping on everything.
Mhm. Um, the Tanuki pulls out an array of train tickets from their pocket, and as the doors open, they shove it in the face of, well, in the non-existent face of the conductor, and say, "Just take us to the Crystal Catacombs."
Oh. Hey, Longshot, do you want to do an insight?
Sure. Oh, that's a natural 20. Let's see. That's a +8. So,
That is.
28.
I mean, I could roll deception just for funsies, but that's a nat 20 anyway, no matter what.
Hey, you got pretty high though.
Pretty high, but you can
Unfortunately.
still read flash of alarm on Henrick's face before it's like it was never there. You can visit. You can see Henrick. There was some kind of Henrick's reworking a plan very quickly in their head, but trying not to show it.
So does Henrik get on the train with Lock Longshot?
They get on the train, and I'm gonna have to make another. Let a roll. What is flat zero is always fun. Holy! Great. Cool. Yeah, Henrik gets on the train. No fuss, no muss. This is fine. Everything is going according to Keikaku.
And as soon as Henrik is also on the train, the door shuts and the faceless conductor moves on to the next car, and it starts moving forward faster and faster towards what appears to be a blank wall.
Oh, always fun.
Long
Henrik just won't look at that.
Lock Longshot is just has sat down and leaning against the window, looks very bored. And there's a as before the train even actually touches the wall, the black uh a black hole opens in it and the train goes through.
Fun stuff. What would Henrik see if they looked out the window?
So looking out the window, because the train is moving very fast, you probably see, well, flashes of stars, maybe a galaxy, flashes of, that looks a lot like the Feywild out there.
Eyebrows climbing higher and higher. It's like only here where they're starting to be like, I might have gotten myself into something here. But shift and they're gonna glance at Longshot. They have not asked for this person's name, by the way.
Nope. And Lock Longshot has not given it, but we all know it's Lock Longshot. The audience knows.
And still not asking for it. They're just going to say this instead. Who exactly do you work for?
His name is His name is known as Zeyah North.
Now, does Henrik need to roll a history on that? I have no idea.
So, yes, roll history for me.
Cool. History, where'd that go? +5.
Because depending on how long Henrik has been away. Whoa, that's a
What
nat
the
20!
shit? Oh, shit!
So, looks like Henrik has been doing his research on, the general underworld situation of Einquell.
Henrik knows more than me!
So, Henrik would know that Zeyah North is a name that has, started coming up in, like, for about 4 years, associated with a group name called the 13th Order. And one of the things the 13th Order seems to be known for is having dealings with a syndicate called the Cutsmen. Messing around. Well, I'm trying to think of what someone who's traveled the world would know. Or if. Oh, right. You've been walking around the Tezukanda countryside, so you probably heard that recently the Ghibelline Empire has been looking for an organization called the 13th Order because. And also has been setting out missing posters for their missing Colonel Muskra. And you would also probably have seen that Colonel Muskra looks at least a little like the Tanuki in the mauve suit who's been escorting you. But not quite completely the same. After all,
Fascinating.
Colonel Muskrat looks a lot more like a muskrat. And the dressed up Tanuki in the suit definitely is a Tanuki. What else? Oh, you probably know that this Zeyah North and his organization has only been in Einquell for 5 years. There were absolutely no talk or hearsay of them before those 5 years. Nothing at all.
News. I feel like with just to offset that nat 20, just the absolute sheer surprise of hearing that name. Yeah, Henrik's not going to be able to hide, like, the surprise at all. They've been a little tense this whole time, but it certainly doesn't decrease hearing that. The curiosity, though, has only gotten stronger, because, like, what the hell? With Zeyah North and the 13th Order. What with this rando?
And strangely enough, the train ride is over. It was a lot quicker than you would expect from, a regular train ride. But you think that probably might have something to do with whatever weirdness was going outside the windows.
Yep. The stuff they're not thinking too hard about. Listen, Henrik, don't fuck with the deities or planes or that nonsense. Above pay grade.
There's a as the train pulls up to another train station. And the doors open and Longshot gets up and just stretches until his arms pop before, come on, let's go, heading towards the train station and the tunnel beyond it, which seems to have a little bit of mist coming out of it.
Well, lead the way. And continuing to follow. The dice giveth and the dice taketh away. So, the additional person that leaves the train is not stealthy at all. And you know what, this is typical for this kind of thing, but I feel like there is, you know, a lot of crashing, some like car honk noises, typical stuff of, you know, shit going wrong backstage. That whole sound effect. And someone tumbles out of the train the next car over. Face down on the ground, splat. And, hey, Longshot, just at a glance, this person looks like a dead ringer for the guy you're escorting. And Henrick consequently is an extension of that one is just going,
Longshot just looks over at him, looks at the person he'd been escorting, looks over at him and goes, "Well, are you going to come on
then?" Yeah. They're gonna quickly haul up the lookalike, which, yeah, wow, standing up really is a lookalike. The only thing that's different, is eyes aren't red, and the expression is a very, you know, lights on, but nobody's home.
Mm-hmm.
Congrats, you have 2 Henricks? 2 Henricks following after you. Boy, oh boy.
Longshot has a lot of thoughts about this, but he's not allowed to speak right now.
Oh, I love that sentence.
So I'll...
We love you too, Blue Jay.
So all he's going to do is go... Come on. We have to get to the doors first before I can talk with you personally.
Of course. And, yeah, Red Eyes Henrick has just got a hand on the other Henrick's arm, following after, and... that's a weird use of pronouns. Did Henrick roll anything for that? An insight, a perception, a what?
You can roll an insight if you want.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so...
It takes one to know one.
With that insight, you'll realize that for a moment before he dropped the voice, and just now he dropped the voice again. This is not the person. So the person talking to you and the person who has probably been with you this whole time is not the person who belongs in this body. And it's probably the Zeyah North that you're coming to see.
Well, Henrick thinks about that for a moment, then just has to shrug. You know, pot calling kettle black, whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes it be like that.
And the Tanuki leads you further and further down this tunnel, and the mist gets deeper and deeper, and there are, well, give me a perception check.
Absolutely. Ah, yes, the Danthew special, flat 0. Yes! 3!
I guess you noticed nothing. That's fine. That's okay with me. And it's strangely enough, it's not dark in the tunnel. It's this kind of phosphorescent dim light that just seems to be pretty much spread everywhere through the mist. You're not sure where it's coming from, not with that 3. But hey, at least you can see.
Exactly. More information is just superfluous. This is fine.
And the two of you come to a giant, fancily carved double wooden door. And above that is a similarly fancily carved sign, the Crystal Catacombs. And the Tanuki, excuse me, pushes open the door. I gotta roll strength. The Tanuki attempts to push open the door. Oh, wait. Oh, he's got acrobatics. Wait, no, acrobatics doesn't work. That's athletics. Never mind. The Tanuki attempts to push open the door. That's a 19 minus 3. Cool. I think he actually manages to push open the door.
Henrick does not help.
Yeah,
I got it.
so for a moment, he's going, God damn it. And it's clear that the Tanuki is trembling and sweating by the end of it as he holds open the door with his body.
And Henrick strolls on through. This is top tier service. They wouldn't have been of any help anyway. Their strength in this body is shit.
And through is a very well lit, well kept library. And it's
Ooh.
huge. Alright, follow me. Lock long shot moves away from the door and it closes and starts kind of doing it this sort of droopy walk towards a section further in.
You know, don't worry about the fact that this person had trouble opening that. Henrick definitely would. Yeah.
This person has a -3 modifier.
Oh, same!
Handshake emoji!
So they're both fucked.
Yep. You want to get through that door, you might want to ask someone else.
Well, thankfully there's 2 of them at the moment.
And throughout it's almost like a labyrinth, but you know, it's a library. So there's multiple different, like, you know, knowledge sections that they're passing by until they stop before an alcove, and sitting in that alcove is a human-looking toon who you're betting is probably like 5'11" height. He's got nice warm brown skin, long as fuck white hair, which is tied up behind him in a top knot ponytail sort of deal. And he's wearing a dark coat, and standing beside him, at attention, is a lovely Toon. Hold on. Let me get the picture I was gonna share right now. Where did I put it? I should have pulled it up before.
Good.
uh, Here it is. Standing there in their dark coat is a long-legged Toon, and she stands about 6'4", and her hands are resting on a rather large claymore. And the man looks up, and he has red eyes that are glowing a little softer than your current companions. And he's got golden, what looks like scales on his cheeks. And before you can say anything, your Tanuki companion goes, "Can I just go now?" And the man goes, "Leave." And Longshot goes, "Thank fucking God." Turns on his heel and leaves.
Watches that and watches Longshot go kind of distastefully, just like, man, the help these days. I take it you are Zeyah North?
Of course. Amaris, pull him up a chair, will you? And Amaris kind of just goes, fine. And she just places the claymore against the wall and walks over and just picks up a chair and sets it down opposite to Zeyah North. Like, there's no ceremony to this. She doesn't even use her legs. She just picks them up and her arms extend.
The attitude.
And she looks at you and goes, grins with her sharp teeth. "There you go. A chair."
Thank you for your hospitality. And Henrick will sit, and the second Henrick, non-Red Eyes Henrick, nobody home Henrick, takes, remains standing. It's like blatant bodyguard position, body language behind them.
And Amaris goes back over to her claymore, picks it up, and leans on it again, clearly watching you.
Nice place you got here.
Oh, it's on loan. The owner doesn't really mind my presence as long as I don't steal any of her books.
Tempting prospect, won't lie. Henrick had been eyeing the books as they'd gone past, just like, oh, what is on here?
Unfortunately, I feel like that endeavor may prove a little fruitless if we did not have more of a team to curb her dangerous ability to breathe. I think it's either she breathes fire or she breathes poison.
That's a bit of a distinct difference. But your 13th order isn't up to the task.
It's more like the only one who's here right now is. And he gestures towards Amaris.
Fair
They're
enough.
scattered at the moment.
Well, yes, what a whole purpose of a team is being able to multitask.
Hmm. Unfortunately, I've been having a bit of a problem with some of my members lately.
You mentioned my work when you called me here. Is that related?
Yes, it is. It's very fascinating. Can you tell me a little bit about it? And he leans forward, placing his elbows on his knees, and he's resting his chin on his hands as he places one hand over the other.
Suppose that depends. What do you have on offer? I know how deals work.
Yes, I did offer my research into souls. And, you know, you've given me such an interesting demonstration. Why don't I give you a little bit of another one? And Zeyah North's eyes open wide, and his eyes radiate red for a moment. And then Amaris's rubber hose eyes start glowing a bright, vibrant red. And she straightens up, puts the claymore back against the wall, and walks over to you and does a lot more of a formal bow.
Well, sort of nod head back just because sitting down.
Hmm. And she straightens up and smiles in a much nicer way and opens her mouth, and both her and Zeyah North are speaking in unison. Now, isn't this a good demonstration of what I've learned about souls? Or would you like an explanation?
What I do, I have not been able to overwrite if that's what you're doing.
Unfortunately, it's not quite overriding. Emery's twitches and her you hear her bones crack all at once, and she glances back at Zeyah North, and Zeyah North goes, "Oh, fine." And her eyes stop glowing red. And she walks back over to her claymore, picks it back up, and leans on it again, kind of glowering. That's the that's the tricky part of it. The problem. They still have just just enough of their soul to fight back.
Hmm. Well, we'll see if anything I have maybe the help there, because even what you have already going on, that's interesting. I would trade for that. Uh, Henrick seems to think for a moment of where to start, but is going to reciprocate with demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
The body that's sitting in the chair, the eyes go blank, no longer red. There is body is sitting, but no one is home.
Mm-hmm.
The body behind, red eye straightens up. Now I can swap between these bodies, which aren't very durable within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But for the matter of this trick and for extra hands and extra resources, serves their purpose well. They're echoes of me.
Echoes.
Be the most succinct way to put it, I think. That makes sense.
It does make sense.
And hold on, brain working.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. I'm writing notes.
Me, who had written down a page of notes on how, like, the rules of these things half an hour before.
It's okay. I honestly, based. There are very little rules when it comes to what Zeyah North does.
Versus me, where it's like, the rules have all been in my head. They just need to be written down. But, yeah. A hand comes up, flexes a few times, and just goes. Well, starting from the beginning, these bodies didn't belong to anybody before anything. Nobody belongs in here. They're empty. I made them. There's nothing to overwrite because they've always been empty. So, in that sense, I take the easy route. Additionally, I mean, I like to make them look like me. I think it makes it easier, some sort of sympathetic factor. And why wouldn't I want to look like me? For another thing. But theoretically, these cloth constructs could be anything. But I suppose you could say I'm a simple wizard of simple tastes. And I think they just hop back to the sitting body again.
Mm-hmm. Constructs. You know, I've never actually looked into that. I'm into the study of the soul more myself. Interesting.
Sounds like we kind of went opposite ways. I was more interested in bodies than soul. It just kind of came the other way. But nothing saying I can't learn now.
So, this is. So, Blue Jay, and for the audience, just an aside, out of character here, we're going to put a pause for a moment to discuss about when on the timeline this is taking place.
Boy, oh boy.
This takes place not long. It takes place during Lucifer's travels too. Somewhere either between it. Okay, so it takes place before Axiom goes to the Eclipse Cathedral for the second time. There we go. That's a better place to put it.
All right, and then on the flip side for my stuff, this happens before Henrick shows up in Toontown, or, you know, shows their face for the first time in Toontown. Who knows how long they were there? Don't worry about it. So that's a headache for Jade and retcon in the timeline later.
No. The timeline is not in shambles. I have managed to keep my stuff linear. Everyone else is the problem.
We all gotta follow Hart's example. That's the problem.
Yeah, I know. I'm moving at different rates. It's not my problem if people have decided that games take place after mine. Looking at Decimal. Okay, we're gonna get back into character now. Oh, what was I saying?
Oh God. Henrik was talking a bit. Henrik was saying that these bodies are constructs and not
Mhm.
actually tunes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Not quite real kind. Like they're constructs.
Yeah.
You got that. Zeyah North slash Longshot got that 7 earlier, way back in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think in his own body and up close across the table like this now, it becomes far more obvious. Both these bodies are constructs. This is not a tune. This is not real kind. This is just, these are both. It's like if a Muppet born was designed to look and imitate, uh, Henrik Danthew the tune as much as possible.
Mhm.
They're cloth and whatever's going on underneath.
Interesting. See, I. It's the thing is, I was never interested in the construction of artificial bodies. When I became interested in seeing if I could expand my soul's reach, if you will, after I had a very enlightening conversation with a certain half-orc who was never supposed to live for, I don't know, 500, 600, 700 years.
So you want to exist in more than one body at a time.
Yes, because if I can manage to do that, then I can create a tear in reality and reach a very, very certain place.
Hearing that, huh?
Hearing that,
Casually, let's just tear a hole in reality and go somewhere new. Will this cause problems for anyone else? I don't know. Henrik doesn't plan to be an inkwell for very long. It's not their problem, probably. I don't know. Will Faruma have problems? Oh, I love that. I think, yeah, Henrik just for the moment deciding this sounds like a not me problem. Because you know what? They would also be very interested in being able to exist in more than one body at a time. I've never achieved anything like that. As you can see, I can also only mm, control, be aware, see out of one body at a time. My original, the clones, pats himself.
Mhm.
Empty vessels, they don't really sleep. They just are idle unless given a command. My original body is in a words in a stasis back where you found me.
I see.
Is how that works. The closest I've gotten to what you're talking about is a copy of me, but it's not the same iteration of me.
Mhm. Hmm. Well, the thing about uh and Amaris's eyes start to glow red again, and she straightens up as Zeyah North himself straightens up from his leaning forward position. Piece of my soul is in her chest because, well, with toons, it's a lot easier to remove their soul than it is with even Muppetborn.
Born like that.
Hmm. You cut out.
Oh, Henrik said, agreeing. Muppet-born are stubborn like that. I
Mm-hmm.
know. So you head tilt. Just how many pieces are you in?
Currently, the Tanuki that left, Amaris, a very certain bird. No, two very certain birds. Two, three, four, five. Myself. Um,
Hmm.
at least five. Me
At
going to my
least.
list. Me going to my list to make this a certain number instead of, you know, one, two, three, four, five. Right. Three, four, five, six. Oh, that's right. Six, actually.
Problem, you need more and
I need
you'd like to be in
more.
total control, is that it?
Yes. The problem comes in is the real kind are very, very stubborn. Even as their souls are removed, gone, there's still a tiny piece left because that's the only way you can actually revive them. And it's that tiny piece that's the problem. At least with the real kind. It may be because I was born a toon.
That last bit of that sentence cut out for me.
Oh, he said, it may be because I was born a toon. As in, toon souls are different from real kind souls.
Born tune. That's a fun and interesting sentence. What does Zeyah North appear to be?
He's a toon. He
Okay.
he he So he's a human-looking toon, but he is definitely
Okay.
a toon. He's definitely Frankenalley.
Gotcha.
He is a Frankenalley toon.
Similar sort of deal to Henrik. But Henrik sits back and just like puzzling on this. This is a good puzzle that they've just been handed. He's like, Zeyah North ain't wrong.
I
And
started an experiment some time ago, seeing if I could instead eclipse them. And someone interrupted my experiment so rudely by damaging the item I was using.
do they need to be real kind?
No, it was more convenient. Would be a shame if one of those real kind that are currently under my employ were to go somewhere else. Especially with the fact that he would have, well, at least the base of my research.
No offense. Sounds like you should have worked smarter, not harder. Stick with tunes. But as it is, this may help you, this may not. Leans forward. The way I make these constructs, the way I make it so that I inhabit them fully, and the way I made my first clone, which is a bit of a different process, but this bit is the same. It's an infusion of my magic. Just a complete and total flooding of the cloth and body, which then it's. They're trying to figure out how to word this because they haven't really had to explain this to anyone, or haven't in a long time. Henrick is very much a lone wolf with, me, myself, and I.
Mhm.
It's. I called them echoes earlier, and that's essentially what happens. Rather than splitting myself or creating a full copy paste, it becomes an echo of myself that I can then step into. And it doesn't last forever. These things have a shelf life. Eventually, the magic naturally fades out. And then I just make more.
How long
But
does it last?
about a year. A year
Interesting.
before. The magic is also what keeps these walking and together. At the end of a life cycle, if I haven't already dismantled them or other mishaps haven't obliterated them, they're not the most sturdy, then they will simply start to fall apart on their own.
Mhm.
This one considers the body they're currently in. So this one's about 3 months.
How long does it take to create one?
The hmm. The harder part is just the constructing, really, but since, for expediency, they all just look like me, I have an outline, a imprint that I cut from. It can be any cloth, really, for what exactly I do, but you cut the cloth, you stitch it together, and the short bit is the magic infusion, but that's also the intense bit. It's a lot of energy.
Mhm.
For the actual casting, I would estimate it's a ritual, an hour.
An hour. And he smiles.
That also cut out a bit. He smiles.
Yeah, he smiles.
Yeah.
Zeyah North smiles.
The most comforting sentence to hear.
Oh, yes. Would there be anything else I would need to know before I attempted to do this myself?
I would expect if you were performing this on something that is not an empty vessel, such as gestures at Maurice, you'll have a harder time of it. The soul already inside will fight back, but I imagine you know this and have experienced this.
Oh, yes.
I don't necessarily know how to make that easier because I have not really attempted.
You put them to sleep.
Mm. Sleep would help. Do you remove their souls at all during the process?
For Amaris here, I did, but, well, it would honestly be a lot harder if their soul was not removed, but I don't imagine you could remove a piece of their soul, and that could be a way in to insert a piece of yourself. It's a lot easier if most of their soul is removed. But I imagine you could still do what I do if you only had a piece, considering it is only a shard that I have placed.
How do you shards? That's not something I've ever come across. How do you split?
Now that's the tricky part, is splitting yourself for the first time is the tricky part. I think the very first time I attempted that, well, stole everyone else's soul in the building.
So you're saying it would be better to attempt this in isolation?
Yes. At least if you don't want a bunch of people, quote unquote, dead on the floor.
Yeah, see, that leaves tracks. That's not something I want. The isolation is no problem.
Now, let's see. To do that, you have to, well, there are two ways. The first way I do it is the most explosive, but it requires less weakening the plane itself.
They're listening intently. That's a way to open up. It's a way to open it up.
Well, the problem is that the darkness is not native to any plane, any one world.
Would
So,
Henrick need to roll to know what Zeyah North means by darkness?
sure, you can roll religion.
Oh, religion.
Yeah,
Interesting.
this is we're getting into the funky cult stuff. Holy shit!
Once again, Henrik knows far more than I do.
So, thing about this is the darkness is already here in Zatori. It's already here. It's been here much longer than Zeyah North has been here. You've heard about the darkness in your travels in Furuma of, let's see, a kingdom far away that fell to it and was completely destroyed by it. And people call it, well, the source of the darkness, because this isn't any old darkness.
This is advanced darkness.
This is advanced darkness. This is, demonic shit. You've heard in, well, some underground, very shady places that you can summon a demon of darkness, as you would normally summon a demon to try to get answers from it. But the thing with summoning the darkness is that all it offers you is power.
Like that. Interesting. So this is not something Henrik has decided to fuck with yet.
No. I don't
But
imagine
clearly,
this
yeah.
is something he's decided to fuck with yet, but it's also something he's heard about in the wider world of Satori.
Mm-hmm. You keep your ear to the ground, you pick up interesting things.
Those who accept the deal, 'cause this is, you got a 23, I might as well give this to you too. Those who accept the deal enter a contest of willpower, and if you fail, you are consumed by the demon and turned into a monster. You've heard tales of that. Of people summoning up this demon and accepting the deal for power and then failing.
Oh, yeah. Knowing that, they are not about that. Henrik prefers to be able to, deals where, you can talk and you can reason and you can wheedle and you can loophole.
Mm-hmm.
That shit. Nuh-uh. Too risky.
The thing is there are a lot of signs for people who A, have failed, and B, have succeeded. You've heard of these signs, and Zeyah North has none of the signs of someone who's made a deal.
Interesting, but they just implied that darkness is involved with
Mm-hmm.
at least the first way of splitting. So having clocked that, I think Henrik would be noticeably looking Zeyah North over and not finding these signs.
And
But,
Zeyah North smiles again.
so what is your trick there? You don't look like... You don't look like you've made a deal, but you're still using darkness as a component.
Yes, well. Admittedly, the first time I was extracting corruption from a soul. And, well, when I tried to combine the corruption, the darkness, with something else, it blew up in my face. And spread throughout my entire lab. Admittedly, that might be a twist of fate of how I managed to keep all my pieces, even as they were shattered. Whereas the rest of my team only were able to keep one single sliver.
Henrik nodding with the expression someone who's very familiar with just like, oh yeah, evil science fuck-ups. Yep, lab accidents. Wizard OSHA doesn't exist. You lose your soul? Whatever.
The funny, as out of character, the funny thing is where Zeyah North comes from, OSHA does exist. But also, I'm pretty sure Zeyah North and the team left before anyone could do any, thorough investigation on his laboratory.
There's an OSHA report somewhere.
Yeah, there's an OSHA report in bootleg Exandria, a world away.
What happened here? We'll just never know. Uh, so that's the first method. I take it the second figured out how to make it a bit less explosive.
Mhm. Um, thing is you have to be in, well, a naturally unstable place. And he lifts his hands and gestures to the library, but you know what he means.
Mm-hmm.
That way it's a lot easier to draw corruption and keep it from explosively reacting with the material around it. Considering everything here is already so off kilter, it would take a moment. A lot longer to react with its catalyst. Oh yeah, and I probably should have been doing it in a dark room.
Henrick gives Zeyah North a look like you weren't. No, duh. It's in the name. Dumbass wizards. God.
Dumbass wizards. It's another reason why the subject needs to be asleep.
When you say the location needs to be unstable, do you mean this library specifically, or could that be applied to the Uncanny Valley as a whole?
Oh, I've never done any experiments in this library. I meant the Uncanny Valley.
All right.
The locale is so unstable here. It's too easy to pass into places like the Feywild, for example.
Henrik nods, remembering the train ride over.
But the reason why that works, I believe, is because the lines between planes are so thin. It's a lot easier to draw upon the power of the darkness from the its native plane without getting its attention.
Oh, oh, you're cheating. Nice loophole. A little stealing never hurt anyone.
It's worked out for me.
Exactly, you're still standing. You only need to do it, I don't know how many more times.
Let's see. I need 13 different pieces of myself.
Right, so you're halfway.
Exactly. And knowing that the constructs last a year, well, that's far more than enough time for what I need to do.
Like, mental note. All right, don't stick around in Ankwell. Don't stick around for, more than 6 months. Finish up the deal and get out.
Is there anything else you would like from me in this deal?
I don't know if you've ever been to Furuma, but I'm simply wondering if you know any places of similar instability in that country. Within Inkwell as a whole is already more unstable than most of Story. The Uncanny Valley being one of the biggest epicenters of that. My point is, I'm wondering if you know any spots in Furuma that could provide a similar advantage. If you
Forgive
don't, that's fine. I'll find them myself. I'll be back there soon enough.
forgive me for a moment. I was rolling at advantage. What would that be? You know what? I'll give it a history because he would have. No, other one was a 19. So he thinks for a moment, mutters to himself, and he reaches behind him because, hammer space. So two, he gets what he wants, and he pulls out a very carefully drawn map and unfolds it. And it's a map of Furuma, and there are there are more. He pulled out multiple maps, all in
Oh,
one.
excellent.
There's a map of Furuma, and underneath it, there's a map of the continent just beyond Furuma,
Mm-hmm.
which me myself and I am blanking on the name, but we all know what the name of that continent is.
Me nodding, not knowing the name. Listen, 99% of games take place in Inkwell.
I hope to change that at some point.
Oh, fun! I mean,
Anyways,
depending on how things go.
yeah. He hems and haws. Well, it's not quite like Einquell, but. And he kind of circles a point in Furuma, which I will give to you to put down yourself in the future,
Excellent.
wherever you feel like is the best. It is around one of those weird like giant holes.
Oh, the meteor crash sites. Don't worry
Yes.
about them.
Yeah, yeah. Points directly at one of the meteor crash sites, and then on the further continent, and he just kind of shuffles the pages around to show it. He circles a place called Moral Tide in a continent in a country called Ellisvire, and then another place on that continent which is again create meteoric creation in nature. Seems to be around, I believe, the meteor crash sites.
Fascinating.
Unsurprising, considering the amount of magical content that still lingers there.
True enough, I suppose. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
Henrik is just taking mental notes, committing that to memory.
Amaris, escort him out. Oh, I would love to. She picks up her claymore, swings it, and places it on her shoulders and smiles at you.
Uh, yep. Henrik will stand up and nod to Zeyah North. Pleasure doing business with you.
Pleasure.
Good luck in your endeavors.
You as well. Um, Zeyah North picks up the book he was reading. Because he was, in fact, reading a book. Emery's gestures forwards.
And, yep, clone will follow Anne Maurice's directions.
Mm-hmm. Emery's walks Henrick back to the front entrance and easily pushes open the door and holds it with one hand.
Yep. Once again, walks through, just, it's very entitled, just like, well, of course the door's being held open.
And this is
Why would
where
I need to
will
open the
leave
door?
you. You should be able to take the train back.
And what is the name of the stop?
Oh, what's the place where Loch Longshot picked you up from?
Well, they shrug. That'll have to be close enough. And doesn't say goodbye, doesn't really acknowledge Enrice in any way. It's just going to, head for the train.
Mm-hmm. And as you get back out of the misty tunnels, roll me another perception check. See if you see something. Nope.
5, barely better. 5.
It's just a whole bunch of mist. It's kind of annoying.
It's just here.
Mm-hmm. You don't know why. It's here.
It's annoying, and that's all Henrick pays attention to it for.
Mm-hmm. You reach the train station, and right as you walk up onto the wooden platform, the train stops in front of you and the door opens. There's
Isn't
the
it wonderful to have
conductor.
public transport that's always on time?
The faceless conductor, you don't know if they're looking at you or not, but they're certainly gesturing.
And they're certainly stepping aboard. Choo choo!
And the train takes you away, conveniently back to the stop where it picked you up at. Or at least you think this is the stop it picked you up at.
Well, there's one certain way to find out. I'm going to assume this is where, because Henrick is going to try and just, Nort back to their OG body. And if they're in the right place, it'll work, because they'll be close enough.
Roll me a d20.
How is it 11?
So, do you have a feeling of if it's too far away or if it's just outside of range?
Yeah, it's sort of it almost works, but there's a sort of rebound snap effect, and they're just back where they started in the clone body.
Mm-hmm. So there's a rebound snap effect.
Cool. It's time to find out if an inability for sense of direction or maps is Gregory specific or genetic. It's Gregory specific, baby. Henrick takes a look at the surroundings and just goes, and starts walking in the direction they need to. It may take a while, but they're off. Back to the caravan.
It's clear that the opening to the Uncanny Valley moved.
Great. Of course it did. Fucking Uncanny Valley.
Thank you for joining us for this FPS between two villains.
Hell yes, villain FPS. Thank you, Hart.
That was fun. This is fun. Goodbye.
Bye.